let's continue building our app. In this video, we'll start creating our news uh, CRUD. So basically, we just first log in here. So karthik.com or whatever. Sure enough, that URL isn't mine. Alright, so we are logged in. So I just want to mention that in this /home, we only have the news of we created. So it is basically the news, all the news we created. In here, we will have in the main root, index of the root. This is the index. When we hit a URL, we should see this, right? So in this URL, we'll see all the news of with ordered by upwards count and everything. So in here, we don't need to have anything other than the news created by us. So that makes sense, right? So we don't need to have anything other than an authenticated route. So basically, we'll have another URL to navigate to home, and we can have that as alright. So first we'll start with creating /submit. Alright, so in route.js we don't have that one, right? So let's start writing that route.get. So I just mentioned that we are going to have a route group, right? So route group is basically a simple thing. So what route group will do is now you can see this, right? So route group will basically do is we can do multiple routes inside them. So basically, like if you want to put multiple routes here, we can put this here like this. So what is the use of it? Instead of passing middleware in every route like this, we can pass it here like this. Alright, so we can pass middlewares here like that. So that might help us to do different kind of things. So this is what route group is for. So for now, we don't need to do that. Right, so we just write route.get, and I'll go to /submit, and we need to create a controller called news controller, and we need to give a method called index. Alright, so create a controller here. Adonis make controller news controller. Right, so we have another useful flag here, so which will be like -- resource, which helps to wait a second here. So we created the controller, right? So if we go ahead and check that controller, news controller, when we create the controller with -- resource, we can see different number of useful things. So instead of giving an empty class here, we have number of useful options here, like index method is already declared, create method, store method, and a lot of useful methods, so that we can start writing the logic alone. Right, so here we can start writing the code of submit here. So we don't need anything like response request or anything here, just view will do. Right, so return view dot render submit. So let's do news dot submit. Alright, so let's make the view here, make view news submit, created, fine, that's better, looking good. So we can go ahead and check. Here we have news, we have submit.date, as simple as that. As far as layouts dot app, and we need to create a section block here, section block of content. Remember, this helper methods will come in VS Code when you have installed the Edge templating engine, as I already mentioned. Alright, so please install if you want to do something like this. So it is really helpful in increase the productivity of us. So I recommend using that. So what we are going to do here, again, the submit should go only when we are authenticated, right? So that's where our route group should go, right? So we have two different routes, like home and submit, so that should be going. So let's create by writing a container and put everything in the center here. Oops, good spelling. So center, and say create your news, whatever. Feel free to create whatever you want. Row, and what else? Col Excel, col LG 8, and col XS 12. Whatever you want, just create whatever you want. Just we'll justify this to center, justify content center, and we need to move this from the top, so empty4 will help. Right, so we should have the form. Why not we'll copy from register.h or login.h, whatever. So just copy the entire form here, or you can write if you want, just copying it and paste this here. Looking good. So this shouldn't be the password, this should be the URL of the news. Alright, so input type should be URL. We have something called URL type, which will help somewhat for us. So name of URL, again this name should match the table field, right? So this name should be the title of our news, and type should be again a text, and this label we don't need to care about those labels here. So this will be title of your news. Everything should work fine. So submit. Cool. Let's check that tower. Let's check this out. Kind of good. Let's do few different things here. So we have a div which is going to make this center yeah, somewhat better. We can move this from the top. Great. Create your news. We'll change this to h3, and class of center, it should be text center, sorry about that. And we'll make this as a text primary, a nice little color. So just cool, that works best. We'll change the placeholder here, enter our title and enter your URL. That is this. Okay, enter your URL. Alright, so hit refresh here. Cool. That is working fine for us. and hopefully this makes sense. And let's go to routes again, and we'll change this submit and home routes into our route group. Alright, so route dot group. Alright, so again this comes like this. Okay, fine. Oops. Right, so we can have this one here, and we'll push this one here, and this one here as well. Alright, so now we don't need to pass middleware authenticated here, we can pass it here. Alright, so that's it. Okay, that looks better for me, and let's minimize this a bit, and now it should look perfectly fine. If I refresh here, it should work fine. That submit should work fine, right? So if I click log out and click submit, you are not logged in. That's great. Now it's working perfectly fine for me, and we can start writing the store logic here. So basically we'll write paste method of submit, and we'll store this to the database. Right, so we go to news controller and look for store method. Where is that store method? Here we have this. So we need to store three different things. One is user ID, another one is news title, and final one is URL. So how we can get user ID here? We can get from auth. Sure enough, you might guessed it, right? So one thing I want to mention is in auth.js we said like we got the user authenticated user from auth.getUser, right? So it is basically used to get the current logged user. So basically we can get const user equal to auth.getUser, and that user will have a user table field. So like user.id, user.email will hold the value of current authenticated user. So we don't need to do that here, right? So how we can do that? So there is something called auth.check here. So this will work as same as how we did in the last time. So basically auth.check will do for us. So we'll change this to auth.check. This is the correct way of doing things. That won't hurt, but this is the correct way of doing things. So just change this to that. So basically when you're checking whether the user is logged in or not inside our middleware or whatever in controller, you should do this. Alright, so makes sense. So here we get the user like const user is equal to await auth dot get user. Before that we need to do const body equals request dot all, as simple as that. We need to bring in the validation, so for that we'll do const validate and equal to use validator. Alright, so const validate equal to use validator. And another thing we need to do is const news equals use app models news. Cool. Now we can do our logic here. So let's do const rules equals an object which is be um what yeah, title, right? So title, we just do required, not more than that, and URL just say required. So if you want us to do something like checking whether it's a correct URL or something like that, do your magic, you do your regex magic here. But for us, we'll stop here. Again, we can do const messages equals title dot required as title is required, right? So second thing is URL dot required equal to URL is required. Cool. My laptop is running out of the charge, so I'll take a quick pause here. I'll continue in our next video. Sorry about that. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.